Imagine you're a mother in a small Yoruba village 100 years ago. You give birth to a baby. Tiny fingers, tiny toes, everyone celebrates. The naming ceremony is planned. The drums are ready. The family is arguing about what the baby looks like. Normal family stuff. Then the baby dies. A few months later, you're pregnant again and the baby arrives. Looks familiar, acts familiar, then dies again. Then another and another. At some point, people stop whispering, "What bad luck?" and start whispering, "It's the same child." Welcome to another episode of Nigeria Untold, because history isn't always sunshine and jollof. So grab your snack, lock your door, because today we are talking about the most haunting history in Nigerian history, the story of Abiku, the child who never lives. In Yoruba cosmology, the universe isn't just divided into life and death. There is Aye, which is the world of the living, and there is On, which is the world of the spirits. The two worlds are not separated by one giant cosmic fence. They are neighbors. The living and the dead constantly interact. Ancestors watch, spirits travel, and destiny is negotiated. And somewhere between these two worlds exists a very stubborn troublemaker called the Abiku. The Abiku isn't necessarily evil, which somehow makes this even more creepier, because villains are predictable, but the Abiku is complicated. They are travelers, tiny serial outbreakers, spirits who travel into the world of the living, allow themselves to be loved, and then vanish, only to return and do it all over again. According to tradition, these three children gather together with their supernatural friends, an entire supernatural squad called Egbe Abiku. Think of it as the worst group project ever assembled, or spirit world friend. But instead of planning brunches, they plan funeral. Before bed, these spirits supposedly gather together and make promises. One spirit say, "I'll go down there." Another laughs and say, "For how long?" Maybe 6 months, maybe a year, long enough for them to get attached. Then everybody agrees to meet back in the spirit world. It's basically the world's most disturbing reunion plan. The spirit then leaves, enters the mother's womb, gets loves, and then leaves again. The spirit then returns to the spirit world, where their friends celebrate their return. And according to the story, the spirit couldn't resist going back. Not because they hated their family, but because their home isn't with humans. Imagine being trapped between two worlds, one world begging you to stay, and another calling you back. That is a tragedy of Abiku. Now imagine being parents. You don't know about spirit contracts, you only know grave. The first death hurts, the second death terrified, and the third death changes everything. People begin saying, "No, this isn't three children, this is just one child playing a cool game." And honestly, if you're watching the same tragedy repeat itself over and over again, you start wondering. The Yoruba developed fascinating ways to stop Abiku from living. Some were spiritual, some were symbolic, and some were surprisingly dramatic. People often give these children names that double as emotional hostage negotiation. Names like Malomo, which means "don't go again", Okumo, which means "don't die again", Durosimi, which means "stay and bury me", Kosoko, which means "there is no hope to dig a grave". Imagine your parents being so terrified that you'll die again, that your name basically becomes a negotiation with the universe, and every time someone calls you for dinner, they're basically praying. And then came the really chilling part, the marking. If a child dies, family places identifying marks on them, and the belief goes like this: if the spirit returns, you will know. And according to Mimi's story, it did. Children were reportedly born with marks similar to those placed on previous siblings. The village is there, people would stare, everybody would stare, but nobody suddenly wanted to be the first to say what they are thinking. The thing about Abiku is that they reveal something deeper than fear. They reveal how people process heartbreak, because infant mortality was devastatingly high and family needed explanation. They needed some ways to understand why joy suddenly turned to mourning. The Abiku became a framework, a language for grief, a way of saying this loss matter, this child matter, there must be a reason. And then things get even more fascinating, because Abiku wasn't just folklore, it became art, literature, philosophy, and some of Nigerian's greatest writers explored the idea. The Abiku became a symbol of unfinished journey, of belonging to two worlds, of never fully staying and never fully living, like a candle flickering between being lit and being extinguished. But here is where history and science begins their awkward little dance. Doctors begin studying illness that once devastated families, and modern science offered explanations that community didn't have. And suddenly, a possibility appeared. What if Abiku wasn't a spirit? What if these children suffered from a condition that nobody understood? Conditions like genetic disorder, severe infection, sickle cell anemia. Conditions capable of causing repeated childhood death within family. What once looked supernatural may often have had biological causes. But here is the most important part. That doesn't make the Abiku story foolish, not at all. Because science explains how children died, but the Abiku story explains how people felt. And those are two different things. It was about the emotional aftermath, the questions left behind, the empty cribs, the tiny clothes folded away, the name nobody wants to say out loud anymore. And that is why the legend survives. Not because people are trying to solve a medical mystery, but because the story captures something universal. The terror of loving someone you might lose, the hope that maybe they will come back, and the hope that maybe this time, maybe just this time, they might stay. So, next time you hear the word Abiku, don't picture a monster. Picture a mother standing over a cradle, watching a child sleep, terrified to blink, terrified to hope, terrified to love too much, because she has done this before in multiple times. And somewhere in the darkness, according to legend, are a group of spirit children waiting and wondering when their friend will come home. Remember that it isn't just a ghost story, it isn't just mythology. It's a window into how generation of Nigerians wrestle with grief, faith, destiny, and the miracle of childhood. And honestly, for a legend of children who refuse to stay dead, it's really about the people who never stop loving them. And that is the untold tale of Abiku. Thanks for hanging out with me on today's episode of Nigeria Untold, because history isn't always sunshine and jollof. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, follow, comment, and let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next dose of Nigeria Untold. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and never forget.